On a humid evening in 1974, a high-ranking official within the Thai Ministry of Finance sat down for a private dinner at a luxury hotel in Bangkok. By the time the main course was served, he was dead. There were no signs of struggle, no smell of bitter almonds indicating cyanide, and no visible wounds. The official cause of death was listed as heart failure, a convenient conclusion for a man who had been privately investigating a series of illicit gold transfers moving through the Golden Triangle. But as his body was being prepared for cremation, a young mortuary assistant noticed a detail the police had overlooked, a microscopic puncture mark at the base of the skull, so precise it could only have been delivered by a professional. This was not a random act of violence, but the opening move in a shadow war that would span 5 decades, involving lost imperial hoards, untraceable currency, and a phantom organization that operates in the white space between national borders. The mystery of the Jade Syndicate does not begin in a boardroom or a dark alley, but in the dense, mist-shrouded mountains of northern Myanmar. In the final days of World War II, as the Japanese Imperial Army began its frantic retreat, legend speaks of Golden Lily, a massive operation to hide looted treasures across Southeast Asia. While much of the focus has historically been on the Philippines, intelligence reports from the late 1940s suggest a significant portion of the Burmese imperial tribute, including raw rubies and ceremonial jade, never made it to the coast. It vanished into the rugged terrain of the Shan state. For decades, this was dismissed as campfire folklore, until 1992, when a rural farmer digging a well near Lashio unearthed a rusted lead canister. Inside was not gold, but a series of encoded ledger books and a set of heavy, antique brass keys marked with a symbol that didn't belong to any known military unit, a stylized cicada. The cicada is a creature that spends years underground in darkness before emerging to scream. It was a fitting emblem for a group that had effectively hijacked the post-war recovery of the region. Forensic accounting of the ledger books revealed a terrifying reality. These weren't records of buried treasure, they were the founding documents of a private banking system that utilized physical commodities, jade and opium, as a reserve currency to fund political influence across the continent. This wasn't just organized crime, it was a parallel state. The man who found the canister was dead within 48 hours. His house was burned to the ground, and the lead container disappeared. The only reason we know of its existence is because a local schoolteacher had photographed the items, intending to report them to a museum. He fled to Chiang Mai, living in total anonymity until 2018, when he finally sat down with an investigative journalist. He claimed that the cicadas weren't just a historical relic. They were the ones who had authorized the hit on the finance ministry official in 1974. But why kill a man over a 40-year-old secret? The answer lies in the nature of the jade itself. Unlike gold, which has a standardized global price, high-quality Imperial Green jadeite is valued subjectively. This makes it the perfect vehicle for money laundering. A single stone, the size of a grapefruit, can be sold for $50 million in a private auction, moving vast sums of wealth across borders without a single electronic trace. In the mid-1970s, the official who died in Bangkok had discovered a discrepancy in the national customs logs. Thousands of tons of industrial-grade stone were leaving the northern borders, but the taxable value being reported was nearly zero. He realized that the industrial stone was a cover for the highest quality jadeite on Earth. He had stumbled upon the engine room of the region's shadow economy, and he was silenced before he could reveal who was fueling it. The investigation into his death went cold, but the trail of the cicada did not. In 2005, a satellite survey of a remote valley in northern Laos detected an anomaly. In an area supposedly uninhabited and protected as a national park, there was a massive heat signature and evidence of a highly sophisticated underground ventilation system. When a local reconnaissance team was sent to investigate, they found nothing but a series of abandoned concrete bunkers dating back to the 1950s. However, one member of the team, a former miner, noted that the rock walls of the bunkers weren't natural. They had been reinforced with a specific type of high-density slag usually found in smelting plants. Someone had been processing something in that valley, not gold, and not jade, but something far more volatile. This leads us to the second logical pivot. For years, investigators assumed the Jade Syndicate was merely a smuggling ring. They were wrong. The syndicate wasn't just moving stones, they were using the profits from those stones to corner the market on rare earth elements necessary for modern electronics. By the early 2000s, this ghost entity had quietly acquired minority stakes in every major mining operation from Vietnam to Indonesia. They weren't just a relic of World War II, they were positioning themselves to control the future of technology. The information gap here is staggering. How does an organization remain invisible for 80 years while participating in the global commodities market? The answer is the layering. They never own anything directly. They exist as a series of offshore trusts, managed by a rotating cast of lawyers who don't know who their ultimate client is. In 2012, a breakthrough occurred in Singapore. A high-frequency trading firm noticed a pattern of phantom trades in the copper markets. Every time the price of copper reached a specific threshold, a massive sell-off would occur from a series of accounts linked to a shell company in the British Virgin Islands. The algorithm used for these trades was remarkably similar to a code developed by a missing Japanese mathematician who had disappeared in the 1990s. When authorities attempted to freeze the accounts, the money, nearly $400 million, was transferred in less than 60 seconds. It didn't go to another bank. It vanished into a decentralized network of private digital ledgers. The syndicate had evolved again. They had moved from physical ledgers and lead canisters to the cutting edge of blockchain technology, years before the public even understood what it was. The mystery deepens when we look at the human cost. Throughout this timeline, individuals who get too close to the cicada symbol tend to suffer from a very specific, rare form of neurological decay. It starts with insomnia, followed by vivid hallucinations, and ends in a total catatonic state. In 2015, a Japanese journalist researching the Golden Lily connection in Taiwan was found in his hotel room, staring at a blank television screen. He hasn't spoken a word since. Medical examiners found traces of an unknown alkaloid in his system, a derivative of a plant found only in the high-altitude forests of the Himalayas. It is a biological signature, a silent warning to those who know what to look for. It is the modern version of the microscopic puncture at the base of the skull. As we move into the present day, the syndicate's activities have taken an even more atmospheric turn. In the South China Sea, there are reports of ghost ships, unmarked cargo vessels that appear on radar but disappear when approached by Coast Guard cutters. These ships don't carry AIS transponders, and they move with a speed that defies their size. Some maritime experts believe these are the syndicate's mobile hubs, floating vaults and server farms that operate in international waters, beholden to no law but their own. One such vessel was photographed by a drone in 2022 near the Paracel Islands. It was a massive, black-hulled freighter with no visible name, and perched on its bridge was a single, oversized emblem of a cicada. The cold truth is that the Jade Syndicate may not be a criminal organization at all, but a form of deep state that survived the collapse of the 20th century empires. They are the holders of the black liquidity that keeps the wheels of regional politics turning. When a government needs a bridge built without public oversight, or a rebel group needs to be neutralized without a declaration of war, the syndicate provides the funding. They are the ultimate middlemen of the East. But the question remains, what is their endgame? If they already have the wealth and the power, why remain in the shadows? The answer might be found in the very ledgers discovered in 1992. The final pages of the schoolteacher's photographs revealed a series of dates extending well into the 2030s, dates paired with geographic coordinates. They aren't just reacting to history, they are scheduling it. Wait. There is one more piece of the puzzle that was recently uncovered in a declassified intelligence file from the 1960s. It mentions a Project 701, a joint venture between a defunct intelligence agency and a group of private Asian financiers to develop a way to store data within the molecular structure of gemstones. If this sounds like science fiction, consider the property of jadeite. It is one of the toughest natural minerals, capable of withstanding immense pressure and temperature. If the syndicate was smuggling jade, were they actually moving the most secure hard drives on the planet? Were the ledger books not just records of money, but the keys to an archive of information so sensitive it could topple every government in the Pacific? This would explain why the finance official had to die. He hadn't found a tax evasion scheme, he had found the master server of a shadow world. The coordinates found in the 1992 ledger were not just random points on a map, they were a schedule of seismic shifts in the global order. One specific coordinate pointed to a barren stretch of the South China Sea, exactly where a massive artificial island began construction in 2014. Another pointed to a nondescript warehouse district in Cyberjaya, Malaysia, which later became the site of one of the world's most secure undersea cable landing stations. The Syndicate wasn't just predicting these developments, they were providing the groundwork for them decades in advance. This suggests a level of strategic depth that surpasses any intelligence agency. We are looking at a group that views time not in fiscal quarters, but in centuries. This is the long game of the cicada, and to understand it, we have to look at the one man who allegedly walked away from the organization and lived to tell the tale. In 2019, a man known only as Subject Zero surfaced in a private clinic in Seoul. He had undergone extensive plastic surgery and his fingertips had been scarred to remove his prints. He claimed to have been a linguistic architect for the Syndicate. His job wasn't to move money or stones, but to craft the narrative layers that protected their operations. According to him, the Syndicate uses a form of communication called asemic encryption, writing that looks like language but has no specific verbal meaning, instead conveying data through the physical stroke width and pressure of the ink. This allowed them to pass messages in plain sight, often hidden within the calligraphy of traditional art pieces sold at major auction houses. A single brushstroke on a scroll sold in Hong Kong could authorize a $1 billion liquidation in London. Subject Zero's defection was prompted by a discovery he made while digitizing a set of documents from the 1950s. The Syndicate wasn't just hoarding wealth, they were actively sabotaging the development of specific clean energy technologies to maintain the value of their rare earth mineral monopolies. This leads us to a logical pivot that reframes everything we know about the modern energy crisis. If an organization with the resources of a small nation has been suppressing technological leaps for 70 years, the implications for global climate and economics are staggering. But why the obsession with Jade? Subject Zero provided the most disturbing answer yet. He claimed that the Jade Syndicate had perfected a method of molecular archiving. By using high-energy lasers to create microscopic fractures within the crystalline structure of high-grade jadeite, they could store petabytes of data in a stone that could survive a nuclear blast. This wasn't just about money, it was about the preservation of humanity's master file. The Syndicate believes that the current global civilization is inherently unstable. They are building a digital ark, and the jade stones are the hard drives. Every time a major jade deposit is depleted in Myanmar, it isn't because the stone is gone, it's because it has been harvested to expand this subterranean library. In the autumn of 2024, a team of independent researchers using ground-penetrating radar in the ruins of Ayutthaya, Thailand, detected a structure that shouldn't exist. Deep beneath the ancient temple foundations lies a reinforced vault made of a composite material that didn't exist until the 1990s. The local authorities immediately cordoned off the area, citing archaeological preservation, but witnesses reported seeing unmarked black vans with tinted windows entering the site under the cover of darkness. No government agency has claimed responsibility for the excavation. This is the cicada signature in action, the seamless co-opting of state power to protect private interests. The vault in Ayutthaya is rumored to be one of 12 regional nodes that connect the Syndicate's physical assets to their digital network. If one node is compromised, the data is instantly rerouted through the others, making the organization virtually immortal. But who is at the top? Analysis of the Syndicate's financial movements suggests a hydra structure. There is no single leader, but a council of elders who represent the various interests involved, the remnants of the Japanese imperial gold movers, the heads of the triad banking families, and a new generation of Silicon Valley-educated technocrats. They meet once every 7 years in a location that is never repeated. In 2021, a leaked flight manifesto showed a group of private jets from 6 different continents all converging on a private airstrip in the Maldives. For 48 hours, the islands were placed under a total communications blackout. When the blackout ended, the jets vanished, and 3 weeks later, the global semiconductor market experienced a sudden, unexplained stabilization. The syndicate had reached a consensus. The delayed gratification of this mystery lies in the realization that we are not outside observers of this story, we are living within the infrastructure they built. The cold truth is that the Jade Syndicate is the invisible hand that stabilized the post-war ruins of Asia and turned it into the economic powerhouse of the 21st century. They did it through blood, through the suppression of truth, and through the strategic use of ancient minerals. The microscopic puncture at the base of the finance official's skull in 1974 was a small price to pay for the stability they provide. As we look toward the 2030s, the coordinates in the ledger books point to a final series of events, the total digitization of the world's currencies and the final harvest of the jade mines. The ultimate reveal is that the cicada symbol is not just an emblem, it is a warning. The cicada stays underground for 17 years, waiting for the perfect moment to emerge and transform. The syndicate has been underground for 80. We are now approaching the end of their cycle. The information gap that began with a dead official in a Bangkok hotel ends with the realization that the global economy is not a series of random events, but a curated performance. The stones are full of our secrets, the ghost ships are carrying our future, and the puncture marks are already being prepared for those who ask too many questions. The mystery isn't where the syndicate is, it's whether there is any part of our world that they don't already own.